You're doing everything you were told to do with money. You work, you earn, you save, you avoid the obvious mistakes. And yet, something still feels off. Not in a dramatic way, not in a crisis kind of way, just enough that you never fully relax. That's the uncomfortable truth most people don't say out loud. Because when you're irresponsible and broke, the story makes sense. But when you're disciplined and still stressed, the problem stops feeling financial. It starts feeling personal. You wake up and check your bank balance almost automatically. Not because something is wrong, because something might be. Your bills are paid. Your credit is solid. You're not living paycheck to paycheck, but your body doesn't know that. There's a low-level tension running in the background of your life. A constant mental calculation you never really turn off. You hesitate before spending money you technically can't afford. You replay decisions in your head at night. You feel stressed, then feel guilty for feeling stressed, because you know people who have it worse, and that guilt keeps you quiet. Here's the thing most people don't realize until much later. Most people don't feel broke, they feel behind. Behind an invisible schedule. Behind a version of adulthood that promised more stability than this. Behind people their age who seemed calmer, freer, less weighed down by money. You did what you were supposed to do. You delayed gratification. You chose the responsible path. And now, you're stuck in this strange middle ground where nothing is obviously wrong, but nothing feels secure either. That's not a motivation problem. That's not a discipline problem. That's a systems problem. Look, this part matters. When people feel behind despite trying, they don't usually ask for help. They question themselves. They assume they missed something obvious. They wonder if they're just bad at money. They assume everyone else figured it out and they didn't. That quiet self-doubt keeps people stuck longer than bad financial decisions ever could. My name is Vero, and I spend way too much time thinking about how money systems actually work and why responsible people feel financially stressed. If you're someone who earns, plans ahead, and still feels like money never quite settles into something solid, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because I made this exact mistake for years. I believed that if I stayed disciplined long enough, clarity would eventually show up on its own. I thought once I earned more, saved longer, optimized better, the stress would fade. It didn't. What showed up instead was constant vigilance, checking, adjusting, second-guessing. I wasn't panicking, I was managing. And that turned out to be the problem, because managing without clarity drains you. Somewhere in that cycle, I realized something uncomfortable. I wasn't actually running a system. I was reacting to symptoms. So I started building a structured way to see what was really happening across my money, habits, and energy. Not to fix everything overnight, not to turn my life into a spreadsheet, but just to reduce the noise enough that decisions stopped feeling random. I'm not going to explain that yet, just remember that it exists. It will matter later. First, we need to break a belief that quietly makes all of this worse. The belief is simple. If you're financially responsible, the system will eventually reward you with stability. That belief used to be closer to true. It isn't anymore. According to Federal Reserve data, a significant number of households earning well above the median income still report financial stress when faced with unexpected expenses. Not because they're reckless, because their financial lives are compressed. More fixed costs, more obligations, more required decisions packed into less time. People misunderstand this because they look at income in isolation. Income feels like the scoreboard, but income doesn't tell you how constrained your system actually is. What matters just as much is how much of that income is already spoken for before you ever make a choice. Housing, insurance, healthcare, transportation, subscriptions, taxes, and the one almost nobody calculates properly, time. When your time is fragmented, your decisions get expensive. You default instead of choosing. You delay instead of optimizing. You pay for convenience because energy is limited. Those decisions don't feel reckless. They feel necessary, but they compound quietly. If you've felt this before, you're not crazy. I read the comments on this channel. I see people saying things like, "I make more money than I ever have, and I've never felt more pressure," or "I did everything right, and I still feel stuck. That's not failure. That's feedback. So here's what actually helps. Track what influences decisions. Ignore what doesn't change behavior. Automate the obvious. Stop pretending vague awareness is control. You don't need more motivation. You need fewer blind spots. I want to leave you with this. You're not behind because you're bad with money. You're behind because the system rewards visibility, not effort. Once you see that clearly, the pressure shifts. Not because everything is solved, but because you're no longer guessing. This is why the next decision matters more than the last one. If this helped, you'll want the next video too.